Good morning, Burley Glenwood boys and girls. Hopefully you have pulled up your digital version of your Common Core review, and you have that up as the video is playing so that you can get some good hints. And remember, Ms. Hattelstadt and I do want you to do the work mat that goes along with this lesson that will help you understand area better, so that when you're assessed on this, we will see some wonderful growth in your learning. Don't just eeny, meeny, miny, moe. So I'm going to screen share so that we can get going. And I'm going to try not to make too many funny faces today, because that's rather entertaining to see all the strange faces I make while we're videotaping. Okay, so number one is an estimation problem, and we need to remember that estimate means round. So they told us that each side of a square has a length of 107 feet. Estimate the perimeter of the square. So I'm quickly going to jot down a little square here. And it says each side is 107. So I need to think, what is that close to? It looks like for these, they rounded all of them to the nearest 100. So I'm going to label this side 100. And you get to listen to my dog. Oh goodness, and this side 100. And this side 100. So all four sides have been labeled 100 feet. You need to find the perimeter. So you have to decide if the perimeter of the shape is 200, 400, 600, or 800 feet. Number two, Maya designs 5 patches shaped like the triangle below. How many total vertices do her patches have? Now, if we were at school and you had your math books, I would tell you to get your math book out and look in the glossary, but we don't have our math books, so I am going to give you a hint. A vertex is a point where 2 line segments come together. So you need to count that shape and decide how many vertices that shape has. Number 3, Carrie is selling raffle tickets. Let's go with green. Each book of raffle tickets contains 20 tickets. She has 8 books to sell. How many tickets does Carrie need to sell? So for that particular problem, she has these 8 books. Each one has 20 tickets. So I am doing 20 times 8. Think of the base fact, the 8 times the 2. And don't forget to put another 0 on the end after you figure out your base fact. So it is going to be a 3-digit number. Number 4 and 5, we are going to use the table. The table shows the number of tutors to the number of students in an after-school learning program. So if there's 3 tutors, then there's 18 students. If there's 5 tutors, then there's 30 students. If there's 7 tutors, then there's 42 students. If there's 9 tutors, then there's 54. How many students are there for each tutor? So for that particular one, you want to think, what is the pattern that is happening? And I'll give you a hint, you are multiplying. You need to think, what would you multiply by? 3 times what is 18? That'll help you figure out for every 1 tutor, how many students there would be. Now, number 5, if there were 10 tutors. So if I put a 10 here, times, now it's going to be the same number that you put here. So whatever you decided went there needs to go here also. And I'll give you a hint. It is an even number. And it is greater than 50 and less than 70. Okay, number 6. How many sides does a pentagon have? Draw an example of a pentagon. So remember, there's that shapes tool on your digital version of your Common Core. I do expect to see a pentagon drawn next to number 6. I don't want to just know how many sides it has. So hopefully you saw that little hint I just gave. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go watch the video. Are you the video? No, you are not the video. You are the video. Okay, let's get our computer sound up and ready. Hit more and share computer sound.
How can the area of rectangles represent the distributive property? Gina wants to separate this rectangle into 2 small rectangles. Will the area of the large rectangle equal the sum of the areas of the 2 small rectangles? Use the distributive property to break apart facts to find the product. The area of the rectangle is 56 square units. Will the total area change if the rectangle is divided into 2 parts?
So if I took a scissors and I cut along one of those lines, if I slide the 2 parts back together, would I still have 56 squares?
Separate the 8-unit side into 2 parts. What does this do to the rectangle? This creates 2 rectangles where there was just 1 before. How big are the rectangles now? 1 is 7 units on one side and 5 units on the other side. The second is also 7 units on one side, but 3 units on the other side. How does the area of these new rectangles compare with the area of the first rectangle? The area of the first rectangle was 7 by 8. That's equal to the sum of the areas of the other rectangles, 7 by 5 and 7 by 3. The distributive property shows how the area is calculated. What does the equation mean? The equation means that the area of the large rectangle is equal to the sum of the areas of the 2 small rectangles. The area is still 56 square units.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you pause the video for a moment, go find your workspace, and that you do the work alongside me. And I was kind of sad. I was correcting 14.1 today, and I only had 1 person that did the entire work mat. I had a total of 2 people that did one part or another. So I didn't spend all the time putting these work mats together for you not to use them. So please use them. So for interactive learning, it says the new reading area in the library is a rectangle that is 8 by 9 feet. Mrs. Wallace has a rectangular piece of carpet that is 8 feet by 5 feet. What part of the reading area will be left uncarpeted? So you notice I pre-made some little shapes. It's your choice whether you make the pink one, the 8 by 9, or whether you make this kind of salmony color, the 8 by 9. I'm gonna grab the pink one and make it 8 by 9. So I'm gonna start there, 8 rows of 9. So first I'm gonna make 8 going this way. So I'm at 2. So 4, 6, 8. So I have my 8 rows, but now I need 9 going across. So it's at 3 right now. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I now have an 8 by 9 shape. Now it says there's a rectangle that's covering 8 by 5. I'm not gonna do like you would in a room. Oh, that didn't quite turn out the color I wanted. Oh well, I was hoping it would look different. So I need 8 by 5. Well, I already know going this way is 8. So now I've got an 8 by 3, but I want it to be 8 by 5. So I need to stretch this. There we go. So now I have 8 by 5. Oh, I think I forgot to put a type on spot. Sure enough. Okay, so it asked me what part of the reading area will be left uncarpeted. So I need to insert a text box since I forgot to do that. So insert, but I will make sure that you have a text box on your version. Only it'll say type here. So the uncovered, oopsie, part is, so it's still 8, and now it's 4. So 8 feet by 4 feet. What part of the reading area will be left uncovered? The uncovered part is 8 feet by 4 feet. So I'm going to make that nice and long so that it fits. Good, it fits. And let's see what color we should do. Don't want black. Let's do blue. And I don't like Arial. I like Chewy because that pops. It's easy to see. And we will make that 6. Oh, there is no 16. Okay, so the uncovered part is 8 feet by 4 feet. So I'm hoping when you submit this to myself or to Ms. Hadelstadt that your page will now look like my page. Okay, copy and complete the equation that represents the picture. You don't have to copy it, but you do have to complete it. So they've given us the first thing. They've given us the 6. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going down. How many going across? So we have to count the original shape. 2 plus 3 is 5. So I'm going to make this guy 5. Now, 6 by 5 is going to have the same area as this 6 by 2. Here's that 2. Now, this one right here is going to be for how many this chunk is. So this chunk is, hopefully you're thinking, oh, that's 3. Okay. Now, we are breaking it into its parts. So it is still how many rows? Hopefully you're thinking 6. It is still 6 rows. So here's our 6 by 2 plus the 6 by 3. Okay. So when you turn this work mat in, it needs to look just like mine. Okay, number 2, draw a picture on grid paper to show that 7 times 6 equals 7 times 3 plus 3, which equals 7 times 3 plus 7 times 3. So we're going to start by grabbing the rectangle and making a 7 by 6 rectangle. So start with that. That is not 7 rows of 6, so I need to make it be 7 rows of 6. So right now it's 2, there's 4, there's 6. Okay, now I have 7 rows, but I don't have 7 rows of 6. I've got 7 rows of 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I've got this starting point. Now I need 7 rows of 3 and 7 rows of 3. So hopefully you saw this red line over here. You're going to grab that red line. You're going to bring it over. Now you're going to stretch it. Oh, stretch. There we go. So I have 7 rows of 3 and I have 7 rows of 3. So when you submit your workspace, it needs to look like this. Okay, number 3, describe a way to separate a 5 by 6 rectangle into 2 smaller rectangles. My first step is to have a 5 by 6. So I didn't make the graph paper super huge. I didn't want you like getting overzealous. Right now, I do not have a 5 by 6. I have a 2 by 3. So there's 5 and there's 6. So I made it the perfect size, but you have to show where you're going to cut it. You got lots of choices. I'm going to stretch this first so that it's about the right length. Okay. So could I cut it right smack dab in the middle? Yes, I could cut it there. If I choose to cut it there, it's going to be 5 times 6 equals 5 times 3 plus 3. And I'm going to show you if you choose to put it in a different spot. So if I choose to put it there, it's going to be 5 times 6 equals 5 times, now I have to have those parentheses, 2 plus 4 parentheses. Oh, that's a dollar sign, huh? Now we noticed earlier they then had another equal sign. So we're going to do that too. See, stretch that out. Equals. Okay, now I need parentheses. 5 times 2, need my parenthesis, plus another parenthesis, 5 times, that other chunk is 4. Okay, so that is the whole description of how I could cut that shape. Do you have to have it there? No. You can choose to cut it smack dab in the middle. If you do cut it in the middle, your equation is going to be different. I'll show you what that's going to look like. So if I cut it in the middle, then I'm going to have a 3 and a 3, because 3 plus 3 is 6. This is now a 3, and this is now a 3, because this part of the shape is 5 times 3. This part of the shape is 5 times 3. Together, they are 5 times 6. Okay, so I've shown you 2 different ways that you could do number 3. So I believe if you are just doing half the lesson, and this would be for Thursday, I believe. Let's see, what did I put at the top of the page? Yep, if you are just doing half the lesson, this is where you stop. If you're choosing to do the whole lesson in one day, then you get to keep working. Okay, now I gotta slide back up to the top of the page. So it's been pre-cut for us. We have to look at what's there. I'm gonna do a little bit of color coding. Hello, yellow. Why isn't it? Oh, that's right, this is not a Smartboard lesson. I can't color code it. That's a bummer. Well, if I could, I would highlight this, and then I would highlight my 5s. But I can't do that. Okay, so this is a 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The whole shape is 7. I'm gonna slide that up. Then it's still 5. That's where this 5 comes in. But this is 4 across, and this one is 3. So this one wants to be a 3. Now we're breaking it and looking at it as its parts. So we have 5 rows of 4. So here's the 5 rows of 4. Now this one is for this other part. 5 rows of 3. So I suggest pause the video and you copy down the work that I just did for number 4. So you might have the video up on one half of your screen and your work mat up on the other half of the screen. Okay, for number 5, we have 3 rows. Now we're going to look at the entire shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is, the original shape is a 3 by 8. So we're going to make this 8. So the original shape is a 3 by 8. Okay, we're still looking at this dimension. 3, this one's 3. So this 4 is this first chunk. This empty spot is this second chunk. So hopefully when I move my cursor over it, you counted and you came up with 4. So hopefully you're noticing, oh, 4 plus 4, that's where that 8 is. So 4 plus 4 is 8. So now we're going to look at it in terms of each chunk. So this is a 3 by 4 chunk, and this is a 3 by 4 chunk. So we had a 3 by 4 chunk. And a 3 by 4 chunk. So I'm going to do both of those at the same time and slide them up. Okay, for our next one, we have to write an equation that represents the picture. This first number is how many rows there are. Somebody turned in an assignment for the second or third or fourth time. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 rows. Now let's count how many are in the whole shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 in the whole shape. So we are starting, our big exterior is a 4 by 6 array. Okay, now we're looking at kind of like breaking it into parts. How many rows do we have? We still have 4 rows. Now this chunk is this first chunk. This chunk is the second chunk over here. So our first chunk was 2, and our second chunk, 2 plus what is 6? Yep, that's 4. Okay, now we're looking at each part as its own little rectangle. This is a what by what rectangle. Hopefully you went, oh, that's a 4 by 2. Okay, now let's come look at this other rectangle. What are the dimensions of this rectangle, which is, it's also a square? It is a 4 by 4. So this one is 4 by 4. So pause the video and make your work mat match my work mat. Okay, on to problem solving. Claudia sold 3 shells last week for $5 each, and 2 more shells this week for $5 each. Show 2 ways to determine how much money she made in the 2 weeks. So they want us to do it 2 different ways. And I think I'm going to go to the smartboard so that I can highlight. So give me just a second to switch rid of that chat, because I really like to highlight things because I think that helps things make more sense. Okay, alrighty. So no matter what, it's $5. Oopsie, I wanted highlighter. So one of the times she sold 3, and one of the times she sold 2. But no matter what, it was $5. So we're going to make an equation. So we had $5, shift $5. Oh, come on, I want you to type. There we go. So $5 times 3 plus 2, and I need to put it in parentheses. I forgot to do that. So that's one method that you can use to solve it. So I'm going to put my equal sign down. Now our other method is to break it into parts, kind of like that distributive property that we were just doing. So one of the ways is to do $5 times 3 plus $5 times 2. And we're going to put parentheses around it because that was kind of the whole point. Oopsie, wrong guy. Of what we were doing with the distributive property. Okay, so no matter which way you solve it, whether you do 5 times 3 plus 2, so 3 plus 2 is 5, so 5 times 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Or if you do it this other way, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 2 is 10, 15 plus 10, still 25. So both ways, you are still going to get an answer of 25. I'm going to copy and paste that. Okay, so you're still able to do that on your work mat. You can't do the highlighting like I did, but you can still type out your answer to match that answer. Okay, number 8, Meet wrote a report about the tallest mountain peaks in the United States. He learned that Mount McKinley in Alaska is the tallest mountain at 20,320 feet. Write this in standard form. So 20,320 feet. That's how many digits you're going to have. So when you type that out, and this comma is between the period and the M. That's the key that you want to hit. Okay, number 9, Kelly had 6 sheets of stickers with 9 stickers on each sheet. Her aunt gives her 5 more sheets with 10 stickers on each sheet. How many stickers does Kelly have in all? So we can solve this one by by doing it this way. So you're not going to be able to do the color coding, but wherever I color code, that's the digit that you want to put in that spot. Let's see, go back to. So 6 goes here, 9 goes there, and you can do the hand trick. Put down your 6th finger, 50. 5 goes here, 10 goes here, and then don't forget to finish adding your 50-something number and then your product for 5 times 10. So finish adding those together, and it is just a little bit bigger than 100. Okay, number 10, Daniel has a piece of cloth that is 7 feet by 9 feet. Explain how he could divide this large rectangle into 2 smaller rectangles. So I'm going to go back to the work mat for that one. That's on this page. There we go. Slide up. So what I want to do is grab a line. That's a line. Is that a line? Oh, yeah, it is. So it's your choice where you cut it. I'm going to cut it right there. And that is not very dark. So let me make my line bigger. Ooh, that's a little too big. Go to 4. And let's make it, oh, yellow might look kind of cool. Let's go with yellow. Does that show up when I unclick? Yeah, sort of. Maybe I'll go with pink. Pink might show better. Hello, pink. There we go. So, explain how he could divide this large rectangle into 2 smaller rectangles. So, I don't like how they wrote that, but we're going to say 9 times 7 because it's 9 rows of 7. Equals 9 times, stretch that, make it bigger. So my first chunk is 3. My second chunk is 4. So he can cut, I'll say divide instead of cut. He can divide it into a 9 by 3 and a 9 by 4. Do you have to cut it the way I cut it? No. You could slide it over and have a 9 by 2 and a 9 by 5. You could have a 9 by 1 and a 9 by 6. It's up to you where you decide to put your line. Okay, number 11, Chaya has a 6 by 8 sheet of tiles. Can she separate the sheet into 2 smaller sheets that are a 6 by 5 and a 6 by 3? Okay, well, I'm going to go grab that line I had from earlier. Control C, Control V. Okay, come on down here. So it's asking if I can have a 6 by 5 and a 6 by 3. So I need to turn it sideways. Okay, right now I have a 6 by 2 and a 6 by 2, 4, 6. Okay, so I'm going to move it down 1. So do I have a 6 by 5 and a 6 by 3? I don't really like how they worded this problem because we're used to talking about 6 rows of 8, and the way they drew that, it's not going to be 6 rows of 8. They drew it as 8 rows of 6, so we have to have a little flexibility of thinking on this one. So was I able to cut it so that there is a shape that is 6 on one side and 3 on the other? Yeah. Was I able to cut it so that there is a shape that is 6 on one side and 5 on the other? Yes. So can she separate the sheet into 2 smaller sheets that are 6 by 5 and 6 by 3? You need to type yes. So type yes. Will they have the same total area? You're going to type yes. They will have the same total area. So I'm going to model that. Yes, she can cut it into those shapes. They will still have the same total area. So hopefully when you turn yours in, your answer matches my answer. Ruru, stop barking. Okay, number 12, our last problem before we go to our quick check. Mr. C's restaurant buys eggs in crates. Each crate contains 6 rows of eggs. Imagine 6 rows of eggs. 8 eggs in each row. Which equation shows how to find the number of eggs in a crate? Would you do repeated addition with 4 6s? Could you do 8 times 6? Could you do 8 times 8? Or could you do 8 times 4? Okay, I'm going to go to the quick check. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am really hoping that you play the audio, you listen to the video while you're doing your own quick check. It makes me kind of sad when I go in and I score quick checks and you're getting scores of 0 or you're getting scores of 20 because I give you hints while I am reading them. So nobody should be getting scores that bad. Okay, which equation represents the picture? They all start with 9 by 6. So that's something I want you to notice. They all start with 9 by 6. So we all are starting with 9 rows of 6. Then it starts getting different. This first one says that 9 times 6 is equal to 9 plus 6 plus 9 plus 2, which equals 6 plus 9 plus 2 plus 9. You could take the time to figure out that this is 15 and this is 18. No, 9 plus 2 is 11. So would 9 times 6 equal 15 plus 11? Okay, and this next one, 9 times 6, is that going to equal 9 plus 6 plus 2 plus 4? Well, here's 15, 16, 17, 21. Is 9 times 6 going to be 21? Okay, on this next one, is 9 times 6 going to be equal to 9 times 9 times 6 times 6? That's going to be a huge number. So you have to, and think of it, 9 times 9 just by itself is 81. Then multiplying it times 6 times 6, so that'd be like 81 times 36. Is plain old 9 times 6 going to equal that? Okay, and our last one, 9 times 6, so 9 by 6, is that equal to 9 times 2 plus 4. And then for this next chunk, is 9 times 6 equal to 9 times 2 plus 9 times 4? Okay, so pause the video if you need to rewind it and hear that one again. Okay, here's a nice, I wish they'd have done this one first because it's not as ugly. It's smaller. So which equation represents the picture? So as we look here, we have 4 rows of 7. That matches the beginning of all of them. 4 rows of 7. Okay, now let's look at our next chunk. 4 times 3 plus 4. 4 times 3 plus 4. Okay, now let's look at this last part. Is 4 times 7 going to be equal to 4 times 3 plus 4 times 4? Let's look at B now. 4 times 7. Is that going to be equal to 4 times 4 times 3 times 3? So 4 times 4, that's 16. 3 times 3 is 9. So do you think 4 times 7 is going to be equal to 16 times 9? Okay, now let's look at C. 4 times 7, so that'd be like the outside of it. Is that going to be equal to 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4? 3 plus 4 is 7. 4 plus 4 is 8. 7 plus 8 is 15. Is 4 times 7 15? Okay, and this last one, 4 times 7, is that equal to 3 times 4 plus 4? 4 plus 4 is 8. What is 3 times 8? Does that equal 4 times 7? So if you need to pause the video and rewind and listen to the hints I gave on that one, please do so. Okay, on this one, which equation represents the picture? They all start with 5 times 9. They all have 5 rows of 9. 5 times 5. Do you see a 5 by 5 anywhere here? 9 times 9. Do you see a 9 times 9 anywhere there? Okay, and then on the next one, 5 times 9 equals 5 times 3 plus 6. So that's saying 5 times 3, and then here's the 5 times 6. Okay, on this one, 5 times 9, is that equal to 5 plus 3? Well, 5 plus 3 is 8, times 5 plus 6. Well, 5 plus 6 is 11. So 8 times 11. Is 5 times 9 equal to 8 times 11? Okay. Oh, I was going to say B and D look almost identical, but you'll notice the difference. This one has a plus. This one has a multiplication. They're trying to be tricky. So on this one, 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 6 is 30. That was the same for both of those. But this one, we're saying we would add them together. 5 times 3 plus 5 times 6. On this one, they're saying 5 times 3, so there's that 15. 5 times 6, 30, but we multiply them. And 15 times 3 is 45. And then we'd need to put another 0 on the end, so that'd be like 450. So hopefully that hint helped you decide which one it has to be, because we got rid of a no way Jose. Okay, number 4. Which picture represents the equation 2 times 6? 2 rows of 6. So there should be some that you can get rid of because they are not 2 rows of 6. And then you're looking, okay, I'm looking for a 2 by 2 plus a 2 by 4. So you have to look at those shapes and decide which of those 4 shapes has a 2 by 2 and a 2 by 4. Okay, same idea, but our shapes are a little different. We need a shape that is 3 rows of 9, and it's been cut into a 3 by 2 and a 3 by 7. 3 rows of 9. Does this have 3 rows? 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 There should be 2 that you said no to. Now that we've narrowed it down to 2 choices, you are looking at which of the 2 has a 3 by 2 and a 3 by 7. And I'm really hoping when I look at these on, I think it would be a Friday, that I don't have 0s and 20s because I gave you really good hints. And if you watched the video and paid attention to my hints and did it while I gave the hints, nobody should be getting 0s or 20s. So keeping my fingers crossed that we watch the video and that we get way better scores. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you worked hard today and that you learned some stuff about the distributive property. Don't feel bad if you're like, this is hard. In a regular year, we would spend a couple of weeks just on the distributive property in smart groups. So unfortunately, with us doing this distance learning, you guys are getting kind of robbed by it. But I will try to share some stuff on my Facebook page, not Facebook, on my YouTube channel. So if you're like, this is not making sense, I'll post some things that you can follow along with. And I'll see if Miss Hattelstadt wants some of the pages that'll go with the videos. So have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen, and keep mathing.